Hey guys, Jim here and welcome back to the channel. On this week's video, we are doing a head-to-head 8th mile comparison between my FA20 WRX and our 400 wheel horsepower 2022 WRX. Is that real? This doesn't seem fair, does it? Okay, so maybe this isn't a straight apples to apples comparison, but if you're anything like me, you don't like fruit, so who really cares about if it's apples to apples? What we're really here to do is compare how fast our 400 wheel horsepower FA24 equipped WRX is compared to my FA20 WRX. This thing does pretty good, but I think it's going to catch a whooping from this today. If you're familiar with the channel at all, then you will definitely know that I love 8th mile drag racing my 2021 Subaru WRX. For this car, I mostly focus on the suspension and driveline setup and haven't really done much to the engine of the car, except for a Grimspeed drop-in air filter, plus my modified airbox, the Cobb Stage 1 off-the-shelf map, which on its best day I would bet puts down between 240 and 250 wheel horsepower. With this being a relatively low horsepower car, I have been able to clock off some pretty good numbers, including my personal best of a 1.86 60 foot, a 4.780 to 60, I believe, and the best 8th mile I've gotten was an 8.55 at I think 81.4 mile an hour. Not that bad. Now it's time to talk about our 2022 WRX. This thing is equipped with an ETS intake, Process West front mount intercooler, an ETS J-pipe with the Noble dual exit rear exhaust. All of this combined with a protune from Clark Turner has cracked just over 400 wheel horsepower. The other thing I've got going for me and my FA20 is I have a ton of seat time in this car, dialing in the suspension, which are the Silver's Neo Max coilovers, and I have this thing pretty rockin' ready to go. That is going to be an advantage I have over the FA24 WRX, which still has a set of Neo Max coilovers on it, but is more set up for kind of like a canyon driver or a weekend warrior car instead of a full-out drag build. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to make myself feel better about the numbers that I have on the car when I know I'm about to catch a whooping from this FA24 WRX. That pretty much sums up the characteristics between the two cars, so let's get this thing warmed up, ready to go out and take it for a rip, and see what it does. So here we go. We've driven the car around a little bit. We put some heat in the motor. We put some heat in the tires. We also have our Dragy mounted to the windshield, so we are ready to go. But before we get going, I just kind of want to throw out my predictions of what I think this car is going to do, especially with my driving skills behind the wheel. Quite frankly, because it's not my car and I don't have a ton of seat time with this suspension setup, I'd be shocked if I can better my 1.860 foot. In fact, I think I'll probably not quite do as good, especially because this car doesn't have launch control or flat foot shifting. But the more I think about it, my fastest 60 foot that I had with my car was without any of that stuff. So maybe, who knows? As far as our 0 to 60 goes, the best I could do was a 4.78 in my car, and I think this thing's probably gonna do that. I mean, we'll be right around that 4.7, 4.5 range maybe, but when it comes to the 8th mile, I think this thing's gonna back half pretty good and blow my time out of the water. I think I would be happy around 7.9 to 8.1. I think this car, as it sits, is plenty capable of that kind of 8th mile time. So there you go. You got my predictions. Let's put the camera up. We'll do a hit. Here we go. Well, boys, we've got some surprising numbers. Not exactly what I thought was going to happen today, but it is what it is. The numbers don't lie, so let's go over that information right now. The personal best that I've ever had with my FA20 2021 WRX is as follows. It is a 60 foot of a 1.86, pretty good if I don't mention it myself. The 0 to 60 of a 4.78, also a pretty good pull, and an 1/8 mile of 8.55 at 81.4 mile an hour. So how does our FA24 stack up to those numbers? Let's check it out. Full disclosure, this is the first time I've ever taken this car out and done digs from a stop. I've done some 30 to 70 mile an hour runs on some pretty good days, and let's not even talk about that because this car completely destroys this car, at least as it sits, from 30 to 70. But what about those 1/8 mile hits? With having little to no experience with the car, I did go out and do a handful of just test hits off camera to get a feel for the clutch and what kind of RPM I should be leaving at. Once I started rolling on the camera, I got the best physical 1/8 mile that I got during the day. So let's go over those numbers. The original 60 foot was a 2.05. Now with having almost no experience once again with the car, I would tell you that's about where I think I would sit. Our 0 to 60 cracked out at 5.21, which isn't bad, but it's certainly not better than my glory pull on the FA20. We followed that run up with an 1/8 mile of 8.62 at 84 mile an hour. Now I'm going to give you a second to digest all that because pretty much no matter what, my FA20 beat all of those numbers hands down. So, is this the world's fastest Cobb off-the-shelf Stage 1 car ever? Or am I the best driver ever? Now, it actually comes down to a handful of other factors, mainly concerning weather conditions between the two runs. Our glory pull on this car came in at a 61-degree day with like 330 foot of DA. Where today, I'm not sure if you could tell, it is 95 degrees out, and on our Dragy, we have a DA of almost 2,500. And I'm telling you, the air is so humid, I can almost pull the water out of it with my hands. Like I had mentioned before at the beginning of the video, this isn't exactly an apples-to-apples comparison, because if you were going to put both of these cars on the track on the same day with all of the same conditions, I can promise you this car would walk all over mine. But for today, my FA20 seems to be the victor. Now there's a couple other things to talk about. That was one of the first pulls that I did. After I did that, I did a few more hits on it and I really kind of dialed my 60 foot down from a 2.05 to a 1.95, which I think is much better, which is exactly where I want to be on a car that I've never even touched the suspension or any of the driveline setup with. Unfortunately, because it is so hot and we were doing pull after pull after pull, with that 1.95 60 foot, the best 0 to 60 I could do was a 5.49, and with that pull, I think my 1/8 mile was an 8.71 at like 82 mile an hour. Although these results are kind of shocking for today, I still don't think those numbers are all that bad, especially given the fact that it's August and it's literally unbelievably hot and unbelievably humid here. But let's make this a game. What are your guys' Dragy times? How are you comparing to what I just did on this car? This could be fun. I mean, drop all of your numbers in the comments below. I'm interested to see if you can beat me. So what do you think of those numbers? What do you think of these conditions? I mean, what do you think of all my sweat? This is really gross. Like, I can't believe I picked today to do this kind of stuff. No matter what, I had fun, and we put down some pretty decent baseline numbers for this car, and I only expect it to get better, especially once the weather breaks. And now, since I'm kind of addicted to messing with the VB here over the VA, I think I'm going to dial this thing in without telling anybody, and we're going to set this suspension up for doing more, 1/8 mile hits instead of all that street driving these guys do here. Once again, drop a comment below. Let me know if you can beat those times. Tell me what you think about videos just like this. Do you want to see this car go faster? Maybe I can find somebody else to drive, the VB, and I can drive the VA, and we can just go head-to-head at the track, and I can show you what setup means instead of just bragging about how much power you have and how important that is for stuff like these 1/8 mile times. So be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know if you enjoyed videos like this where we put these cars kind of head-to-head. And gang, for all things car parts and all things Subaru, be sure to hit up Import Image Racing for all of the best deals on the web and in the world, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Nope.
Okay, hold up, stop. This can't be real, right? Are you really telling me my off-the-shelf FA20 was able to walk out this 400 wheel horsepower FA24? There's just no way. In fact, so much so, I had a hard time sleeping last night after I kind of went over all of the data. So I went ahead and woke up early this morning so I could catch some better weather and do another hit with the car, because I just know that the weather was really messing with me yesterday, and there was no way that those numbers were a true evaluation of just how powerful this car is. And guess what? I got up, I set the tire pressure, and went out for a glory hit when it was still about 88 or 89 degrees out, but the humidity just hadn't hit yet. And guess what? We did wonderful things. Let me grab my sheet here. My 60 foot today was a 1.87. That's what I'm talking about. That is right on par with all of the stuff that I've been doing with the FA20. So I feel like that's a pretty good 60 foot, figuring I've only had maybe 5 pulls on this car. Our 0 to 60 went down from, what is that yesterday? A 549 to a 505. Okay, we are making some really good progress here. And the big number, the 8th mile, did it finally beat my 855 for the FA20? And it did. It went 844 at 81.5 mile an hour. That's what I'm talking about. I knew this car could do it. It is definitely faster, significantly faster than my FA20. And I bet you if we got this thing down to like a 70-degree day, we are definitely in the very, very low 8s, if not the high 7s in the 8th mile. I just wanted to share that with you guys because after evaluating the data, I was like, there's just no way. I mean, it's such a bad day to have done an 8th mile video on a turbo car. I just had to go out and do it again the next day. So I definitely wanted to share all of that information with you. And like I thought, this FA24, significantly powerful, definitely faster than the FA20, and now I've got some pretty good data to prove that. So anyway, I'll show you the run, and maybe now I can sleep better at night. All right, guys, take care.